What's up, college football fans and Mean Green fans? Sonoy Valenta here once again with the Mean Green Show. Today, got a special guest joined by UNT Athletics Director Wren Baker. And before we get into all things as it pertains to UNT football and UNT athletics, guys, you already know the drill. If you're a fan of college football, G5 football, any or all of the above, consider hitting that like and subscribe button because that is truly all that we talk about. Wren, thank you so much for carving up some time for us. I know you're on Harry's, you're on this. I think you're going on Bruni's. And UNT just has so many media outlets, if you will. Especially for a G5 school, do you feel like we've earned the podcast U title yet, or what are your thoughts on that?
We're probably getting close, but I never mind to come on. In fact, I'd rather have a chance to be able to do things like this that reach a greater number of people because I don't get a chance to interact with every fan all the time, and you all have your pulse a lot of times on the fan base. And I will admit, now I'm fairly active on social media, but I don't really look on the message boards and that kind of stuff. I always tell my staff, you guys tell me if there's something that I really need to know or something's egregiously wrong or there's rumor out there that we need to address. But I always see it as a poison pill. One of my coaches used to say both praise and criticism are poison pills if you digest too much of them. So I try to live by that. But so these opportunities are good for me because it gives me a chance to connect with a broader audience. So I appreciate what you do for North Texas and certainly give me the opportunity to be on.
Well, I appreciate your appreciation because my wife doesn't appreciate it. So makes me feel good that somebody cares. But anyway, so what led into your pursue in an athletic director's role and career? I feel like it's a unique niche in the athletic world. Most people would want to, a player till they can't play anymore and maybe then become a coach. But I feel like athletic director is kind of a unique aspiration, if you will. But what kind of led you up into that path and kind of got you to where you are today?
Yeah, I'll try to keep the story short because it certainly was a path that wasn't a straight line. It was a curved one, but always loved athletics, played different sports growing up. But honestly, by the time I got deep into high school, I was pretty focused on academics. I was a good student, had done well on the standardized test, the ACT, and wanted to go to college. My parents didn't have a lot of money, so I really knew that academic track was the best opportunity for me to get some help and in terms of the finances around it. And so I was going to major in computer science. So I graduated high school in the mid '90s. So Y2K was going to take down the entire world at the time because everybody thought computer systems were only designed to go to 99. Nobody had thought about we need to design this to roll over. And so I started off as a computer science major at Southeastern Oklahoma State. I went there because I had a full academic scholarship. Originally, I wanted to go to Oklahoma State, but I only had about a half scholarship there, and so financially, that made sense for me. And Southeastern was a great place, small campus, but really an opportunity to plug in, meet a lot of people. So I was in maybe my second or third year, and two things happened. One is I was in the honors program there, and one of your duties when you accept a scholarship in the honors program is you help do the interviews for other high school students who are interested. And so I was partnered with a faculty member, and we were doing an interview with a girl, and he asked her what she wanted to do what she wanted to major in, what she wanted to do for a career. And she kind of talked about, well, I'd love to teach, and she got real passionate about it. She said, but teachers don't make a lot of money, and so I'm probably going to major. I can't remember if it was finance or something. And this faculty member kind of tore into her about follow your passion. We need people who are passionate about teaching like you. And I have no idea what the impact on her. She probably went to school somewhere else, but it had an impact on me. So I was kind of, at that age where I was thinking about, is this really what I want to do with the rest of my life? And then kind of simultaneous to that, I took a course for fun, theories of coaching basketball, and the coach or the teacher was Tony Robinson, who was also the head basketball coach at Southeastern. Division II often has that, and so he one day kept me after class and said, "Hey, you're really, I think you're really bright, and I would love to have you as a student assistant coach," which I didn't fully understand that was a glorified title for manager and clothes washer and errand boy. Um, but anyway, I did it, and I kind of fell in love. And so I made a decision, not necessarily then that I wanted to be an AD or that but that I wanted to be a part of um, coaching and teaching and seeing young people grow and develop. And so went on to graduate there, and then decided, hey, I want to get a master's somewhere, and sent letters all over the country. Long story short, Eddie Sutton, the legendary basketball coach at Oklahoma State, sends me a letter and says, "We don't have a job open, but if you're going to come to OSU, would love to meet you." And so I wasn't sure where I was going to go, but I wasn't going to miss an opportunity to meet him. And so I replied back and set up a meeting. And when I got there, they had opened up a GA spot, and it was an interview. I had no idea. I just showed up thinking I was going to meet him, and he interviewed me and hired me a few days later. And I was there for 4 years. Um, Left and actually went to the public schools for a year to be a principal and AD. I kind of, again, I never aspired necessarily to be in college athletics. I only cared about having a job where I felt like I got to see people grow and develop. And had a chance to get back in a year later at Rogers State. And so the rest kind of history. I've had a lot of opportunities along the way, and have loved the job I had. Never thought I would be at a place like North Texas doing this, but I'm very grateful for the opportunities and the people that gave me those opportunities.
Wow, very interesting. A computer science initial was your initial path, and wow, things have computer science, right? That's what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the computer science majors out there, it was really the second COBOL programming class that probably also helped me figure out this was not something I love doing. So
Yeah, I stayed far away from the computers and the science in college, but closer to other things which I probably shouldn't have. But anyway, I made it out alive too, so we're all here and accounted for. But so you mentioned on Harry's podcast at Go Mean Green that UNT were experiencing an increase in student enrollment, and what does that mean for the athletic department, and how does that tie into again like the goals with the the budgeting and this, that, and the other?
um, now I missed the first part of that. Sorry. Would you go over that again?
Yeah, yeah. So I was listening to the podcast you did with Harry of Go Mean
Yes.
Green, and I think you
Yes.
mentioned that UNT is anticipated to experience a significant bump in student
Okay.
enrollment. Yeah, and I was just wondering, how does that play? How does that connect the dots to the athletic department, essentially?
Well, there's a direct benefit because we do get fee student fee money per credit hour, and then there's the indirect benefit. And I think the direct benefit is pretty obvious, and that is that financially we have a little bit more money to put into our programs. It's not earth shattering or anything, but you always want to have more than less. But I think the more that we continue to grow our footprint, and the more that we have students that are here and are engaged, it gives us a chance to create more connected alums. And I think it also means that the university has a greater impact on the city and on the region and on the state, which also um, is very helpful for each individual college, but certainly the athletic department as well. So I'm a big proponent for enrollment. Shannon Goodman, who's our VP for enrollment, laughs because he said that I have to call and check on enrollment more than anybody, any other AD in the country. It fluctuates greatly. Like, if they have an orientation or something, those numbers will spike, and you're always talking about point in time, and you're comparing it to that date. It's kind of like football tickets. You're always comparing it to this exact date a year ago, and you're also looking at when does school start. Sometimes we start later than other schools, sometimes earlier, so it can fluctuate a lot, but it certainly is very, very positive, and it's positive for the economy. It's positive for the city, which is, that all feeds back into the athletic department.
Gotcha, gotcha. So kind of piggybacking off of that, you know, in your opinion, how important is it to have the president of said university, see the value in athletics and working side by side with yourself or just athletic directors as a whole, maybe at other universities for that athletic department to see, success and maintain success at a certain level?
Well, that alignment is critical to have any kind of sustained success. And when you look back at our history, it's funny when we get to talking about UNT. No matter who the audience is, it's not very long before you start talking about huge student population in one of the most talent rich areas in the country. But if those were the only two things that it took to be good, just being candid, our history would be better than what it is. And so there has to be some alignment in what the vision is and what the plan is for athletics. And I've only been here since 2016, but when I look back historically, I don't think that there was always a shared vision for how athletics can advance the mission of the university, how it plugs into the mission of the university, which is why you find times in our history where we dropped down to FCS there for a period of time. Um, so I think it's on the list of things you need to be successful. If it's not number one, I don't know what else would be ahead of it. I think it's very critical, and we've enjoyed great alignment and support, not only from President Smatras, who's been unbelievable in terms of understanding athletics, understanding where we can plug in and bring awareness and help advance the university, but also the chancellors that we've had since I've been here and the regents that we've had since I've been here. There's just been alignment all the way through, and that's allowed us to really advance the athletic department, to build a lot of momentum, to raise more money, build more facilities, win more games, graduate more student athletes, all of those things, because it takes support, and it takes a shared vision of understanding what it takes to be competitive. And so I'm very grateful that we've enjoyed that here.
Speaking on, building on the athletic department. So what is the next step as, I guess the first side of the question as it pertains to the progression of the football side of the facilities and then as well as just the athletic complex as a whole? What are the next steps in improving those?
Yeah, and probably a lot of your um, viewers and listeners know this, but most of our information is available on the website. You can go to lighttotower.com. It has our facilities master plan. We're getting ready to update that. Even though we only put that out 4 or 5 years ago, things have changed since then. And so, for instance, we didn't have a golf practice facility on there. Our needs changed in our relationships with our courses that we partner with. But also, we had a donor step forward that made that in Bruzzy Westheimer that made that project all of a sudden a reality and moved up the list. So we're getting ready to release the updated version of that plan. But um, number one, I think, is the athletic center, the expansion of it. And if you've been in our athletic center, it's serviceable. It's not something that keeps us from winning or keeps us from getting great talent, but it certainly is not industry leading or group of five leading like some of our facilities are. And so I think the project's important, one, because it touches every student athlete that we have that comes in to this building, from the time that they come and they as a prospective student athlete, and we're recruiting them, and they see the investment into their experience and the investment into helping them grow. And then it has strength and conditioning, nutrition. It will house our academic counseling. It will house sports medicine. So almost every area that of their experience and everything that we do to help them grow will be impacted by this building. Now, when you look at football, our indoor practice facility is as good as anybody has anywhere. Our stadium is as good as anybody has anywhere. It may not be as big, but it's as nice as anybody has anywhere. So if we can complete this piece, it positions us really well for the top revenue sport to have everything that they need to compete. And so it really completes that puzzle. We've built our budgets. We've built the indoor practice facility. We built a stadium. So this is kind of the final piece, in terms of getting that ready. So I think that project is really important. It's one that we just kind of finished our design of it, and we're building out the collateral so that we can share with donors, and we'll spend a lot of time this fall trying to get the funding secured for that. And I hope we'll be able to do that in short order and be able to break ground sooner rather than later. We also have several projects. Our volleyball facility needs some refurbishing and enhancement, especially the team areas, the athletic training room, the locker room, that kind of stuff. And then we have a softball program that's on the rise, and we've been doing a series of improvements out there. But we really need a clubhouse. We really need dugouts uh, to redo the dugouts there. So those are some of the more immediate projects. There's a lot of other ones that we have that are smaller or further off. Men's basketball practice facility, women's basketball practice facility. Those things we're starting to vet out and design, but those are that's kind of the progression that we're looking at in terms of facilities. And really, what we want is in every sport to have a top uh, 10, top 15 group of five facility, which will put it comparable to a lot of Power Five facilities. We don't need to have the biggest, but we need to make sure that we're competitive, and that will allow us to compete for the best talent that's out there, and then do a great job at developing them.
Yeah, absolutely. And to use kind of a Power Five reference that just recently happened. I'm not sure if I think it was as of maybe 2 days ago, as we're filming this, but Texas Tech rolled out some plans as far as their big, athletic complex. I think it's going to be the biggest in the nation or something like that, a $200 million investment, right? And hopefully it's pretty big. And as well as an NIL deal of all 85 scholarship players are eligible for a $25,000 per year, da 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 da, right? Um, my question is like, obviously it is still super important for fans like myself, your average day, your everyday Joes of your annual contributions of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe 100, continual drip of that. And there's a lot of North Texas fans out there. So if we could, strengthen numbers, right? But in today's collegiate landscape, do you yourself or other ADs, do you find it just kind of almost like, man, when you guys took these jobs, you didn't have to kind of almost compete with these NIL collectives? And I know UNT doesn't maybe have one out right now. You don't have to speak on it per se. I know that's separate gears from your lane. But we all beat our chests as fans. Oh, we need NIL, solve everything, right? But I mean, do you find it ever exhausting, overwhelming? Like, wow, we've got to, how do we encourage donors to, if they want to give to NIL, that's great, but we also need to stay the course with the Mean Green Scholarship Fund, to accomplish, said goals you were talking about.
Yeah, you know, I, I was speaking to a group of aspiring administrators yesterday. The NCAA has an academy for aspiring minority administrators, and so I was invited to speak to that. And and I told them, I said, most professional sports teams, they have somebody who oversees the business operations and somebody who oversees the team operations. So they'll have like a president of the team, and they're worried about revenue and all that stuff. And then they'll have a general manager, and that's who helps hire coaches and who helps figure out acquiring talent and developing talent. And those are two separate functions. In college athletics, the AD does both, and to add to that, we have 16 teams, and so it's always been a complex job. I feel like the last few years, as some of these issues has come forward, um, I don't want to speak for everybody. I think most of us got into the profession to want to be able to help develop young people, which is more of that team side. And we keep getting pulled further and further towards this business side, and it's a constant push and pull to make sure that you're staying on top of both. So it does feel a little overwhelming at times, but I just continually always go back to what we have said is our mission. That's to build champions and prepare leaders, and we're doing that through the pursuit of perfection in academics, athletics, and life. And so we need the resources to do it. We have to make sure we're staying on top of that. We have to make sure that that we're staying current. And I spend a lot of time on the phone trying to learn more about what this person's doing, what that person's doing, because what you find um, between coaches and fans, it's like beauty shop, barbershop gossip. You see about a tenth of what you read sometimes in social media is actually true. But it is there is a constant um, you know management there. My hope will be I'm all for our student athletes having NIL opportunities. I've been for that. I don't believe it should be used in a recruiting inducement. I don't believe in pay for play. Um, but I do believe that student athletes should have every opportunity to make money with their name, image, and likeness. And anytime our fans have the opportunity to participate in that, many of them own businesses, and I hope that they do that. But that doesn't change the importance of providing scholarships, of helping kids get their degree, and helping prepare them for life. And so we're going to stay. We're going to make sure that we're doing everything we can to support those other activities within the rules and within the state law. But we're also not going to lose focus on what our mission is, and that's to build champions and prepared leaders. And I'm convicted about it, and I'm convinced that our focus there is what's going to allow us to have sustained success at UNT, and that's what we're trying to build here.
So you mentioned earlier, you're pretty on top of the social media. I mean, that's how we got connected for this. So, you do check your messages and stuff. Do you ever get exhausted from again, you made the comment before, you're not paid to be emotional, where as fans, we're not paid, A, and B, we are emotional. So do you ever get tired of the fans that maybe I might even be guilty of this, of, DMing you or adding you on Twitter, like, oh, I know how to solve this problem for X or XYZ sport, just got to do that. I mean, does that ever get like, oh my gosh, guys, like, it's not that easy, the logistics side, or is that something you can kind of just brush to the wayside and you just keep going your merry way?
Yeah. Listen, you want to know what your stakeholders are thinking and feeling. And I'm able to kind of put into perspective that those are, if they're immediately following a game, that's often an emotional and sometimes irrational response. Um, but you want to have a certain amount of knowledge there. What you can't do is run a program by fan reaction. So I've had same fans in the same year. We win a big game, don't ever lose this coach, lock them up for life. We lose a big game, you should fire this coach. I'm like, well, like you would have cost us $5 million here. So you have to understand that yes, you want to give people an avenue to express themselves. If it's a totally just off the wall opinion, I generally will try to respond, not necessarily always in a public forum, but certainly if someone reaches out to me privately. Um, but I'm never going to say anything that undermines our coaches, our student athletes. I'm always going to be publicly supportive of them. I think part of this job is to take criticism off of them if you can, and so that's my approach to it. But I don't get annoyed. Now I will say this: there are times if I feel like things are particularly negative, and I grew up in very rural Oklahoma, and so you know I didn't know anything about what mental health was, but I do understand taking a mental health break from social media, and so there are times where I don't log in for a week or so, just because I feel like there's not a lot that's healthy that's going to come out of that. But if somebody really wants to communicate with me, they know how to get me via email or whatever. So, but generally, like I digest those opinions, consider them. I think that those snapshots are good to have, but also understand back to what you said earlier. I have to be thoughtful, strategic, deliberate, not reactionary. And what happens if you're reactionary? is you look up, like some schools have. Kansas comes to mind, but and they have fired 4 football coaches. They're paying 5, and they've done nothing but get worse. And so, that is not where you want to find yourself, and trying to dig out of that hole. So you just try to be very intentional, get all the data points that you can, and make the best decision you can with the information that you have. And that you got to understand, not everybody's going to agree. And if you if you got in this job because you want everybody to amen every decision that you make, you're going to be very disappointed. And so I go back to what I got into this for, was wanting to see young people grow and develop. So if what the decision I'm making, popular or not, if I'm making it because I think it's what's best for them, I can live with that. And you just know that eventually, if your guiding principles and your core values are helping you make those decisions, then you're going to be able to look in the mirror at night.
So at the conference championship basketball game, whenever UNT hosted UAB and Randy Travis was there, and after the game, you made the comment to Coach McCaslin and saying, we'll love you forever and ever, amen, as long as you stay here. Which you kept him here. You locked the cage and threw away the key. But just want to reiterate that statement to yourself from the fans. I don't know if I've talked to another fan base that care so much about the athletic director. It's usually the head, whoever, right? What do we have to do as UNT fans to secure Wren Baker and his family here for the next X amount of years?
Well, I'll give you the initial scouting report, and that is, I actually have uh, 5 women at home. I have a wife, 2 daughters, Addison and Reagan, and then Bree and Reba, our 2 dogs, are females as well. So they usually, if an opportunity's been presented, and we've had a few over the years, um, I ask them how I feel about it, and and what I'm usually told is, you don't like it at all. You want to stay here. So, we grew up. Heather and I are within 3 hours of every family member that we have, and we moved a lot early in our career. Um, I believe we were in 6 homes the first 13 years of our marriage, and so we very much have enjoyed being here. And then I very much love being at a place where you're constantly building and growing. So some athletic programs are very mature in their development and where they are, and you're kind of trying to maintain that. Um, I feel like our trajectory here has been tremendous, and I feel like our ceiling is still much higher. And so that gives you that energy and that excitement to keep the job going. And then lastly, the university's been incredibly good to me. I've had multiple contract extensions and changes. I've never asked for one of those. I've never went to them and said, "Hey, I got a call from this school." I don't play the leverage game, and I haven't had to. They've been very, very kind to me, and they've taken care of me. And so, I would tell the fans out there that as long as I'd say, when you're in positions of leadership, sometimes you're like the preacher. You deliver all your best sermons, and some of them people have heard 3 or 4 times, and they just kind of tune you out. If I ever got to that place, I'd probably look to go somewhere else. But other than that, you never say never. You don't know what the future holds. But I certainly am very happy here, and have not looked to leave here. Love the coaches that I work with. Love the area. Love the passion of the fans. We need more of them. But the ones that we have are very loyal, very passionate, and so it's been a pleasure getting to be here for the last 6 years, and hopefully many more.
Amen. Well, to add to that, I think you look great in green. It brings out your smile. And but yeah, I mean, really, Ren, that's pretty much it for today. Thank you so much for your time once again. We're all chomping at the bit for football season to get back here, and maybe you are, maybe you're not, maybe you're enjoying your time off. But I know you'll be rocking and rolling once the season gets here, and you probably won't have much time to breathe, much less get on a podcast. So once again, we thank you for your time, and maybe we'll talk again soon.
Well, appreciate you having me. I'm actually going to be in Florida next week for a few days. Now, last time I planned one of these, there was a bunch of conference realignment, and so we're really going to try and unplug. So if you would do me a favor and just stop all of the realignment right now, for just hit pause for at least a couple of weeks. I'm going to be on the beach, trying to get a little tan before we get the season kicked off. But I always enjoy having a chance to talk to you. I've watched several of your uh, podcasts with some of our current and former student athletes, and so enjoy it, and keep doing what you're doing. Even if your wife disagrees, just don't tell her I said that.
I won't. Yeah, we're a house, like you said, you got a house full of women. We got a house full of boys. It's me, my son, my dog who's a boy, and then my wife. But yet she still wins pretty much every single battle that we go to. So well, even the numbers don't help when it comes to women, I guess.
That's
But
true.
yeah. Well, thanks, Ren. Enjoy your time in Florida, and go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green.